welcome to the first episode of Lee at the Mag Post, brought to you by Falcon Blues TV. This is something we're going to be doing a couple of times a month to start with, unless I get booted off. I'll be up to Dave and Paul. I'm really happy to be starting this and joining the lads. Obviously, I've known them for quite some time, especially Dave. Just been saying off here, we go back a long time, 23 years, back to Moyes' first spell in charge. So my first guest today, we're talking about history, and obviously something that is only just past us in our rearview mirror is the leaving of Goodison Park, which was a massive piece of our history. 133 years. I'm wearing the T-shirt that I wore for the last game on the 18th of May. I've not worn it since. I've not brought myself. It brings back too many painful memories. But my first guest is like a walking encyclopedia when it comes to Everton. And it's Sarah, otherwise known as Minter's Culture, from Twitter or X, however you want to look at it. Thank you for joining me, Sarah. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Great. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to talk about the subject, so I appreciate it.
No, you don't need to thank us. Thank you for coming on and giving up some of your time this evening. So the link into this, I suppose, Sarah, was quite an easy one. I know we've had an interaction in the last week or so on X. And it was relating to the post that you put on, and I'm going to unapologetically read the post from me so I get it right, because it attracted 176,000 views. There was a lot of traction on it, a lot of talk, a lot of responses, and I'm sure that wasn't lost on you either. So I'm going to read the post that you did, and said this: recent results or form aside, has the club sold its soul? We carry the weight of Everton so deeply, yet at times it feels increasingly disconnected from fan culture and how many of us imagine it should look and feel, even more so in this new era. This is by no means a cheap point score or an attempt to take away from what the new stadium is or might be to some, but a genuine opinion rooted in good intention and curiosity. Some of the club's decisions feel so off the mark that you can't help but wonder how they'll impact its heritage and fan culture in the long run. Did you think things would change so quickly? Was this always the great inevitable? So first of all, it's a really well written and thought-provoking post, and I thought at the time the question was really on topic. What prompted you to post it?
I think from a personal perspective, it's just something I always think about and have always thought about, and since the formation of the Mint thing was always out of the culture and who we are, and do we identify with each other enough? Like, how does the club change? How do the fan base change over time? And then I think as we have obviously left Goodison, I'm lucky enough that people will always reach out and talk to me about the subject. It's probably just something that, the mast is up, as in, come and talk about the culture. It's just something that I think the thing that I sort of like to capture and I'm interested in, other people are interested in as well. And I think just over the last week or so, maybe it is results, I don't know, and maybe people are missing the other place. They've sort of reached out to me, and it's different types of people, but it's the same thing, that they feel like, who are we? Has the identity changed so much in a short space of time? Is that a bad thing? And how do we move on from that? And yeah, so I think it was just a culmination of things, something I've probably felt, but it just seems that everyone was feeling the same thing over the last few weeks, really.
Yeah, I think one thing that may have prompted it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously the last home game we got snotted by Spurs. So I know I'm certainly in a foul mood, as I always am when Everton don't get a result, walking out to the ground, and obviously we were met in the fan plaza by blaring club music, and it felt just weird. It was so off, and it just didn't strike the right tone at all. When you're really pissed off, you're walking, to the Sandhills or to your car or wherever, you just want to get home because Everton have been battered. What's the thing behind that? Was that something that prompted you to sort of, did that have anything to do with the post, and how did you feel about that yourself when you came out to the ground?
Well, it's inauthentic, isn't it? And I think when we were at Goodison, there was the ability to hide after a game. You could get lost in the streets. I loved that the quote that you'd said about it being sort of a comfort blanket. and it just felt like, I'm convinced as well that the people that have gone through those terraces and walked through those streets that are Evertonians they were still with us every game. It just felt like there was the spirit of that area, for good and bad. And I loved that quote that you said, because it did feel like that. And I think because this place feels so new, there's not really anywhere to hide from bad results. Yeah, it does. It feels inauthentic. I can see what the club are trying to do. And when you've got like a new car, you want to play music really loud, don't you? There's an element of that sort of bit of pomp, isn't it? And I think the inauthentic feel is it just will automatically feel a bit crass when things don't go for us. And it is finding the fundamentals in that, or authenticity, that we have to make sure that we hold on to or keep.
It was always going to be difficult, wasn't it? And I think moving from Goodison, because it was so special to so many people, I know certainly the three of us and everyone else who's going to be listening to this, it was always going to be difficult to strike that right balance between moving on. And the stadium's fantastic. I think nobody's going to deny that. It's incredible. You get in there, it takes your breath away. It's got this real, it doesn't feel like the same Everton anymore. I always almost put myself in an away fan's shoes, and I'm thinking, imagine coming to this stadium, having been to Goodison for the last however many years you have been, you'll feel like you're visiting a big club. And obviously, I'm not saying Goodison made us feel like a small club, but it was so behind the times. And I think, I don't know about you as well, Sarah, but since we've left Goodison, I've noticed a lot more just how tired, dated Goodison is and was, and just how much we needed to move. But it has been difficult. How much do you think this is due to the results? If we'd have beat Tottenham, if we'd have beat Aston Villa, home form would have been absolutely fine. Do you think anyone would be raised still? What do you think?
I think
it'd be a point.
I think it's the style of the win, isn't it? And I will always stand by the fact that it's the identity of the football on the pitch, and within that identity leads to standards. The standards lead to ambition. Ambition leads to expectation, and the identity. That's why it is absolutely critical. I think it's the style of the win, and I think now a match day is very much like a day experience. You can't just go to the match and go home. It's like a full. You have to mentally prepare for that. And I think with that then comes, it's the day excursion, isn't it? And you're buying into Everton now, as opposed to Everton is just part of you. You have to buy into the club. You've got to earn points. It's about the football for me. If the football on the pitch is decent, that's what we want, isn't it? I think you forget, don't you, in the grand scheme of things, it's about the football.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, that's what we all go for. It's the results. But just asking you personally for your view on things, then what do you think we've got in terms of Hill-Dickens? I still can't get used to calling it the Hill-Dickens.
I know.
What do you think we've got really, really spot on? Apart from the obvious stuff, what do you think we've got right?
I think in terms of the structure itself, I think it's really unique, isn't it? And as much as I think logistically the location is just, I think it's a nuisance more than ever for some people. But in terms of the way it looks, and that sort of shape that it is, it feels very like you are on top of the football, which I think is lost on a lot of new stadiums. So I'd say that logistically, I'm still getting my head around it.
I'm the same. I've not found a match day routine yet. I'm all over I'm thinking of Saturday. I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I feel so uneasy. It was like I bring myself back to my reply to your brilliant post, Sarah, about the comfort blanket. Goodison just felt you knew what you were going to do. You knew what you were going to see, what you were going to smell, what the faces you were going to bump into, how you're going to get home. Now it just feels like it's such an overwhelming and such a drastic change. I wasn't personally prepared.
No, I think as well, it's not necessarily a bad thing, is it? Because I think change is good, and it can resuscitate you sometimes. It can wake you up, and it puts you right into sort of present day. And I think the club has needed that for a long time. But I think the club, I don't think you can't throw a ball unless you're willing to let go of it. And I think there's elements of stuff that they've definitely got to like let go of, whether that's fan culture taking hold of it. I think that was part of what I got out of the post, that the fans would like to sort of guide an element of it. And I think they need to guide an element of it to feel connected to it. And I think that's the gap that's missing, the little stitches that it requires in order to sort of bring everybody to the fore and make everyone feel a part of that. Like you said, Goodison had that, didn't it? You knew your match day routine. And I think it needs those elements of fan culture to sort of stitch it together.
I'm good, because that was going to be my next question to you, Sarah, in terms of what we thought on the reaction to the post. Because when I've scrolled through the replies, I think it was predominantly people where they did have things to say, things to point out, and things that they thought we were, dropping the ball on. So, what were your initial reactions? Did you expect that level of reaction to the post? Because it's really sparked some emotions from a lot of people, hasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think when I put it up, I actually thought people had been more negative towards it, because I think I think it's difficult as an Evertonian sometimes, isn't it? That's why I said about results aside, because I feel like we've taken so much on the last few years in such a short space of time as well. I mean, anything from Lampard and up to the Ancelotti, everything just felt like it happened within about 6 months. And then moving on top of all of that, once we knew that the last couple of years that we just about made it. Yeah, I think I was actually I was shocked that everyone was quite honest with it, more honest than I thought they'd be. But it was very much the similar thing. It was like for like, wasn't it? Everyone does feel the same. It's like an overarching momentum.
I think what it did is it proved that Goodison held a really special place in the hearts of a lot of people, and it's still a lot of people really do miss, and they're still hanging on to Goodison.
Yeah.
But I see totally why we're talking about results, and results being the most important thing, because obviously I sit next to Dave at the match, unfortunately, and and when we're after that Brighton game and the Palace game, to an extent, I've made comments along the lines of, the biggest compliments I can give this stadium is that I don't miss Goodison anymore. But now I feel like I was telling a massive big porky, and I was just lying to myself, because now after a couple of results, I find myself missing Goodison massively. So it's like a contradiction, isn't it? So I just think it proves that it's a massive results based feel and response.
Yeah, it's funny that, because I think we are going through the motions with it. 'Cause I felt exactly the same when you said that, I don't miss it, and I didn't actually go back for a little while, sort of straight away. I spent a lot of time around Bramley Moor the last like 6+ years, off and on, just taking photos and capturing it and just being in the area really. And so it's been strange for me to see it now with people. Even that Roma game felt really odd to me. It was like, it was really strange seeing people flock into the thing that we're all sort of waiting for. But yeah, Goodison, I think, felt the same. I think Brighton was perfect. It was a perfect day, really, wasn't it? Every part of it really just felt like it. The club must have thought, thank God, huge relief, really, I think. But yeah, I've definitely felt Goodison has been like massively missed, just in general myself. But it's going through the motions, I think, isn't it?
Absolutely. One small thing that I can't get my head around in terms of why we haven't carried it forward to the new stadium is the toffee lady. Now, obviously, you'll probably be able to tell us about the origins of the toffee lady and where that came from and how it started. But I'm really surprised that hasn't been carried on.
No, it kind of came. I think it was like it was in and out, wasn't it, over the last few years? I think up to lockdown.
Yeah.
And it was dependent on staff and how it. I don't know. I think it was a health and safety thing at some point. They can't really fire missiles of toffee mints into stadiums anymore. There's that element of it. I think it was really lovely to see on the last day actually at Goodison, because there were a few women going around, weren't they, that were dressed up as toffee ladies. It's lovely to see it. I think it's a massive part of our heritage. we should embrace that. I don't know. I think we should have done it from the off, to be honest. Should have been the first thing on the club's top 10 list of what needs to come across from one stadium to another. It hasn't. I don't quite know why. I think it's a missed opportunity. There's a few things on that list you could probably add.
Go on, Dave.
I was just going to say, obviously you're talking about the history of the Toffee ladies, and that Joanne Francis was actually my babysitter for a very long time. I don't know if you know the Francis family, Sarah, but
I do.
Ronnie and Vera and Tracy, Gillian, Joanne, the whole family. You know, Joanne was, like I said, Joanne was my babysitter for years when I was a kid. And, you know, I've grown up with the Francis family right along Askew Street. So what you're saying there about, you know, traditions and stuff, I've known that tradition through that family for so many years as well. So it is a big miss. It
is. And yeah, the Francises are an integral part of my childhood. And Gillian, it goes right back to Vera. That is an integral part of Evertonia is part of their family, and it's a very natural progression. And they are the people that you would hope would sort of help carry that through, you know, by the club into, you know, to teach people about it and who we are and where we come from and our roots. Yeah, it's really important. I don't know why it's been sort of bypassed, really. I don't know. It's a club question, isn't it? But it is disappointing not to see it. I don't know why the tower isn't incorporated into more of our culture, to be honest. They're trying to put it into this badge. Yeah.
Archibald Letch as well. I know we in the last couple of games before the kick-off.
Yeah.
I think that would just make it will put such a traditional spin on such a modern stadium, and it would be like a lovely nod to Goodison and our history, because it's synonymous with Everton, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think as well, when you've got that identity, yeah, there you go.
You know, we're all missing it. We've all got it. We've all found something that we're missing, aren't we?
Yeah, it's so important, and I think it gives you the standard, doesn't it, and the reminder of the expectation. And yeah, I don't understand why you wouldn't just automatically have that ingrained. You know, even it's a mindset, isn't it, as well? Yeah. Success and who you are.
A lot of Sarah, and I don't know about you again, and Dave, obviously bringing you in as well, mate. So just, you know, feel free to jump in as and when. But when I've been having conversations, as the move has loomed large on the horizon, Everton fans, a lot of them, when I speak to them, often say, you know, we're too sentimental, we're too hung up on our history, we're not forward thinking enough. And if we were, and we weren't so obsessed with our past, and we changed our mindset a little bit, we'd be more likely to be successful. So how important is it to get the balance right between having a nod to your heritage, not forgetting where you've come from? Even like, I think the 1878s have mentioned as well, and I really agree with where they're coming from. It's the banners. They want to create something new. They want to, you know, stop looking at the 8 sides from the 80s, side from the 60s, and maybe, you know, do more stuff for the current side to egg them on and try and focus on them, because perhaps with a view of making them the next team that we have up on our walls and that we're inviting to dinners to celebrate a trophy win. So it's difficult, isn't it, getting that balance right? And I suppose moving stadium, that's your turning point, that's your pivot point, isn't it?
Dave, do you want to?
Yeah, you should never forget your past, especially when you've been as successful as Everton have. But I think what's that phrase? You'd always, you know, you see your past, you always live your past sort of thing, and we'll never be able to relive it, or, you know, but you can emulate what you want out of it. You don't have to take every single minute detail from it. You can take, okay, we want the best of this, we want the best of that. We don't want the last 30 years that we've been putting up with. You look back at your heritage with fondness. You don't look back at it and go, well, why are we so sentimental about that? Because that was boss.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, that part of Everton is what we want to see now. So yeah, you bring your past into your future, but you do it in a way that you go, okay, we want the great stuff. I don't want to be talking about Mike Walker. I don't want to be talking about relegation battles and stuff like that. I want to be talking about that in this period now. But then I like what you're saying there about bringing in the current squad and saying, well, listen, this was our past. but our past was Bosch, so we want our future to be Bosch now. So this is what you've got to emulate in a way, in a structure that works. You know, it's a very tough way to. It's tough how to do it. I don't know how we actually do it.
Is it to say what we talked about there was the timeline around Goodison Park, and I always used to get really annoyed. Look at it. I think the last timeline on there should have been winning the cup in '95. I don't think there should have been anything after that.
It shouldn't have had Nick Barmby on it at one point.
It had Nick Barmby on. It had, surviving relegation. Surviving relegation is something that we should be thankful for. It shouldn't be something that we ever celebrate. And I think that's lost. That's been lost in recent years. I think our standards have lowered so much that we've forgotten what Everton are and just how big Everton are. And another massive thing for me, Sarah, which I was wanting to bring you in on and talk to you about, which Ped spoke about on Toffee TV, and I found myself nodding along thinking, you're spot on. Why haven't we got a trophy room?
I mean, it's the same reason as to why for some reason, we don't have a museum. We've got the largest football collection, I think, in the English game. The Everton collection is one of the most sought after collections of football memorabilia in the world. I mean, it's not even like just a in the north thing. It's like, it's so unique. We've got things that Liverpool haven't got. We've got so much history. You drive past Anfield on any given day and they are lining up to get into a museum. And it's probably to see, trophies, but they're there to see the history of the football club, and they're buying into their heritage. We, for some reason, I think probably since Carter, have rested on our laurels and sort of think it's enough. That was an endemic sort of thing through the Ken Wright culture as well, that we're enough, that it's Everton Football Club. And unfortunately, I think we really need to celebrate the fact and start bringing in that sort of mindset that if we want to be successful, the present day benchmark we've got to set has got to be ingrained in our history, but also we've got to learn by the history as well and make sure we need to work out our why. Why are we competing? What are we competing for? And that goes back from the founder days to present day. Like, why are we here? Is it to compete, which it should be?
Yeah, absolutely, it should be. And you bring yourself back to Moyes' speech at Goodison on the last day, and I think it made hairs on the back of our neck stand up, and it really struck the right tone, didn't it, around wanting to compete and the club heading in the right direction and stuff. But for me, I think the trophy room and the museum is an absolute no-brainer. You go to all of the major stadiums and the big clubs across Europe, and the Bernabeu and the Nou Camp, Anfield, Old Trafford, they've all got a real celebration of everything they've won. And let's not forget, they're a massively successful football club, been for 30 years, and that's something that we've all talked about, till we're blue in the face. But you should have 9 of those league championship trophies. Even obviously the Cannon, the worst trophy in the world, but have that there on the end in a corner somewhere where no one can see it. So 8 of them, 1 of them, the 5 FA Cup, the European Cup. Is it 9 Charity Shields? I think it's 9.
I think it's up there, isn't it? Yeah.
1.5, wouldn't it? So
yeah, it's one of them. But, yeah, I was there that day. It burnt my head. Double first time I shaved my head. And imagine how that would look. And why don't we do it? I think we're still in the top 6 most successful clubs in England, and we haven't won nothing for 30 years. So the fact that we've maintained that position just shows you just how successful we've been. Mm-hmm. But again, that just seems like, and the space that we've got in this new stadium, surely the space to fit something really good, really spectacular in there.
It was a great opportunity. Sorry, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I've always said, and I mean this with every bit of respect to Everton women, is, and this was probably one of my initial thoughts when we were leaving Goodison Park, and before it was handed over to the women's team. It's like, we've got the National Football Museum in the north. Bring that to Goodison Park and make Goodison Park a museum to football. It's the first all-purpose football pitch and ground in the world, in the UK. bring it there, bring the whole museum there. But even if that's not the case, then we've got this David France collection that's just gathering dust. Bring that into Goodison Park now and have that. And like I say, I don't want to disrespect the women's side of it, and I'd love to see it be renovated for the women. But I think there's an obvious place for it at Goodison Park as well, if that can ever be done. If they're not going to put it at Hill Dickinson, because they're still trying to do something with that pump house as well. I don't know what they're planning on doing with that. But then bring it all to Goodison Park, fill the Bullens Road, or anywhere that you can think of where you think we're probably not going to do anything for a few years on the Bullens Road or on the main stand perhaps. So let's do something with this collection and allow everyone to see it, because then it gives people the opportunity to go back to Goodison Park, relive things, and just have a proper memory and understand, like you say, this museum side of things.
It's the perfect pairing, I think. It's the epicenter, is it, of football, Merseyside football too. It's so historic, and like I think it would be so ideal to do. Before we knew that the women were doing that, I probably felt the same. That there was such an opportunity there to incorporate elements of either St. Luke's and then the ground, that legacy project that's obviously not happened or not happening. But what a great opportunity to do it, and how sad that it wasn't even the first thought for the new ground. They want people to go into a cafe. The cafe's there. It's just got there's two screens with Dixie, sort of just on a reel going up and along the goalposts, and it's so sad because we have all these trophies and this history. They should be putting it in public sort of eyesight,
Absolutely. I just thought that was a big one. But Sarah, I want to bring it back to you. Just you're our guest today. So talk to me a little bit about your journey, and I mean from the start in terms of how you became an Evertonian, how you got into doing what you're doing now, and obviously knowing so much about the club and our history. Just tell us a little bit about
that. Similar to Dave, to be honest. Walton, with my mum and dad. My dad was an Evertonian. His first season was 63. He was taken by his granddad, not his dad, actually. And his granddad was born, I think, in 1904 or something. We're going back. And he was an Evertonian. So my dad would always have been an Evertonian. My first season, a similar season, probably around about you, to be honest. When you say things, I'm like, yeah, I remember that. I was brought up sort of under the Mike Walker era, as in going myself. That was my sort of indoctrination. But I remember sort of just hanging on to the late 80s, early 90s. As a young girl, and because I was just in and around football in that area, and it was peak Everton time, wasn't it? I mean, we were on the back of like some historic successes, so you sort of think that's what it's going to be like, don't you? And then that cup win, that probably solidified it for me. Fell in love with Andrei Kanchelskis a little bit later on, and that was my obsession really with Everton. But I've always been interested in just how we respond as Evertonians and the tribes amongst us. That's been my thing, and how we preserve elements of it and capture it and respect all elements of it too, from the lads in the street end to bringing in the people from the boxes, and how we all have that same sort of mindset that it's Everton Football Club, but we've all there's always that root, isn't there, of the club. And I'm into social history, football, music, and the city, and how it moves really and changes. That's it. And capturing the stuff that I think people can recognize and relate to. That's it.
I think you do it really successfully, Sarah. I know I can only speak for myself, but I love following you online. I love seeing your posts. I think it's pure Everton, and that Evertonia phrase that you use. I just love all of that, because I'm a student of our club as well. I've always thought, I'm a decent person to have on a quiz team when it comes to Everton, but I wouldn't like to go up against you.
Oh God, I mean, the Everton Heritage Society, the minds in there are just like, I'm a newbie 100%. They are incredible. Some of the stats and statistics that I give a shout out to them. They're definitely my teachers. So yeah.
Well, listen, Sarah, thank you. I think it's been a really great opener episode. I mean, I could speak about Everton and our history all day. And when I talked about who wanted to get on as the first guest, I think you were someone who sprung to mind really quickly, and I've really enjoyed the chat. Before we go, thoughts on like the current position? Let's bring it back to current day. So,
You have to.
14th, I know, I'm sorry, but yeah, 14th, 15th. You know, you look at the table and it doesn't look great at the minute. And what promised to be like a decent start has just slowly started to fade away. What are we feeling about it at the minute?
Well, we just need it's stability, isn't it? And we definitely need a natural goal scorer. Undai has just been an absolute world-class addition, and it's been incredible to watch him sort of bring elements of us to life that we've been desperate for. We just have to. I think you'd like to think that Moyes is just going to keep, hopefully, the ship steady, which I think what he's in for, isn't he? I don't know. Just hold on to your boots. It's going to be cold down there in the winter, so we've all got to make sure that we're ready for it. Let's just hope for stability.
We haven't had that cold snap yet, and it's good.
And that's when that'll be the heady days, I think, when the results might not be coming in. But yeah, you just have to keep the faith, don't you? That there's brighter days ahead. Always.
We've got to, haven't we? We haven't got any choice. And I think of what we've been through in the last 5, and I love the way you said that before, in terms of it feels like it all happened in 6 months. I could not agree more. I can't decipher which season was which from Ancelotti to the start of this season. I'm just my head's in a scramble. But I like to think we're over the worst of it. That that those really, really tough days of financial pressures and points deduction, relegation fights, they're all behind us. So maybe a season of transition was to be expected, but we've just got to hang in there and hope that better days are ahead anyway. But Sarah, thank you again. You've been a great guest. Dave, thank you. You can look forward to more of these. As I say, they're going to be coming every couple of weeks. Lee at the Mac Post. And I've got to leave you with 2 words that I've been told I absolutely have to include, because now I'm associated with Falcon Blues TV. Colin Chong.
Colin Chong.